Welcome to the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
Welcome to another exciting week of the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report with myself, Bree Gabrielle, and of course, Captain Rick Murphy. We all hope your 4th of July was an absolute blast. I know I had fun. Rick, you went to Daytona, right?
Yeah, we were up there at the 400 for Chevy, and we got to see all our fans. Ooh, we were having a big time.
Big time, good
Until
time.
it started raining, of course.
Oh, well, that always happens, it seems like. All right, well, let's see how Dave Farrell's weekend was over at the CCA Workbench. Hey, Dave.
The rain followed me to the desert.
Did it?
It actually rained in the desert.
Well, that's good.
Yes. But hey, it was pretty cool to see rain coming down over the desert. I don't get to see the desert very often, but we went to the Grand Canyon and rain fell on me.
Oh, how fun.
In the desert.
Well, you're lucky then.
Yeah.
You're the lucky one. All right, Rick,
It was nice and cool.
Nice and cool, exactly. All right, Rick, we've had two exciting weeks, and we're not stopping this week because it's all about the tuna. Yum.
Something that we love to eat, for sure. Bree, and if you take a look at the saltwater sportsman photos this week, I'm going to tell you the blackfin tunas is certainly one of the tunas that come to mind, as well as the yellowfin tunas. And when you catch the big yellowfins, it's something that you never forget. Now, certainly yellowfins range in different sizes from 60 to maybe 80 pounds here in Florida if you catch a big one, an 80-pounder. But when you go across the big pond, you're going to be able to catch big ones. Up in the Panhandle, they catch a lot of fish between 60 and 120 pounds, you know?
Wow.
So certainly the yellowfin is the most preferred one here in Florida. Everybody loves to see those big yellow streamers. And occasionally they even catch a big bluefin, but we're not going to talk about that.
Well, maybe you'll have to take me out and we'll go have to do that.
Okay.
Okay.
Here we come in a 23 Pathfinder.
Okay, here we come. All right, first up, we're heading to the Keys region with our guest captain, Mark Johnson. Hello again, Mark. Why don't you tell us about the tuna fishing in paradise?
Hey, good evening, everybody. Captain Mark here, filling in for Captain Randy. You know, the tunas are very popular in the Keys region these days, from Key Largo to Key West. And in this time of year, some of the best fishing is on the offshore humps here. And in the upper Keys, you have the Alamorada hump, the 409 hump, and the Marathon hump. And in Key West, you have the Rex and the Atlantic side, and then the Shrimp Ocean and the Gulf. The upper Keys, you want to troll the dark feathers or the black rubber worm way back in your troll, or you want to use a live bait like the pilchard or cigar minnows, and you can thumb your fish right there at the surface. This week, some of the best tuna fishing has been done early in the morning or late in the day, an hour before dark. And in the Key West region, you can fish the Atlantic Rex at almost any time during the day and have some really awesome tuna fishing. Captain Mike Weinhofer on his boat, the Compass Rose, said his tuna fishing has been good behind the shrimp boats, and he's been using live bait to target the tuna in the 25 to 30-pound range.
All right, Mark, before we go any further, I'm going to take a look at the Navionics, and Captain Mark talked about the humps. Now, guys, understand that when we're taking a look here at Navionics, the one thing you need to understand is how it actually rises up. So we're talking 600 to 700 feet of water, but as you get to the hump, look how it rises up, and you can see the severity. Now, if we take a look at the second chart, you're going to see that we also, not only we have the hump that we were talking about here, but Captain Mark talked about the other humps down to the south. And again, using your Navionics and all the sonar charts and soundings, you'll be able to fish those humps. Know that they're going to cause an updwelling, troll feathers way back, and you're going to catch all the blackfins you want. All right, what else you got for us, Mark, this week?
Hey, you know, also this week we got the yellowtail. There has been a fantastic yellowtail bite on the edge of the reef in the upper Keys. Even though it hasn't been a great condition with the light current, but there's been plenty of fish to keep you busy. You want to anchor in that 50 to 70 feet of water, some heavy, and again, you got to be very patient. Sometimes with the tough conditions, calm waters, it takes a little while to get the fish up and catch your limit. If you have the good current, your fish will cooperate much better, and you can catch your fish quicker because it acts like a conveyor belt, getting the fish in behind your boat and eating all your chum. A 16th-ounce hookup on a medium spinning rod with no more than 12-pound test line would be your best outfit for getting the job done. A piece of fresh-cut bait like a ballyhoo or bonita or even squid will be your best bait of choice.
All right, well, let's go ahead and go inshore, Mark.
Yeah, hey, you know what, Rick? You love the bonefish, too, and I can only tell you bonefish is getting better and better. This week our bone fishing was pretty good with good tides due to the full moon during this time of year with the bone fishing cooperating. The tides and conditions are critical when it comes to doing the bone fishing. And you really want that incoming tide on the ocean side or even the first part of the morning in the backcountry, and this time of year is ideal. Captain Randy Stallings, a guide out of the Lorelei in Alamorada, he likes to bonefish a bunch on a regular basis. And when conditions are right, he goes looking for them and usually finds a bonefish to catch for his anglers. I think there's a photo of Randy sent with his angler Bob Berner Jr. with a nice Alamorada bonefish.
All right, what else? One more species inshore. What do you got?
You know what? The permit. This week we've had some fantastic permit fishing as well on the flats due to the high tides and the strong currents due from the full moon that we're having. And once again, the conditions were favorable for the permit to make a showing. The oceanside coral flats are the most common areas this time of year for the permit, with the higher part of the tide being the best. You can also find the good numbers of permits still out on the Gulf wrecks this time of year, and some of those wrecks will hold giant schools of permit, so you want to make sure you're ready with your crab as you approach the spot. Most times you will see them on the surface as you're getting close, but they don't stay for long. So here's a photo of Captain Randy Stallings again. He sent in with his angler Bob Berner Jr. with a nice Alamorada permit, and he caught as well this week.
All right, well, thank you so much for filling in, Mark. Way to get us started this week. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at the La Jolla hotspots from the Florida Keys. Inshore, triple tails. Look for them in the floating grass and weeds, well, west of Flamingo on the incoming tide. And then offshore, dolphin looking 500 to 1,000 feet of water, working the birds troll towards the south and the west while you try to intercept those feeding dolphin, Bree.
Check out the humps, those lovely ocean lumps. Check it out.
Go
Remember
ahead.
that song?
Yeah, man, go ahead.
I'm done. All right, now it's time to tell you about
That's all
some of
you
the
got?
tournaments in the Florida Keys. That's all I got. The Del Brown Permit Tournament, set for this weekend in Key West, honors the late namesake angler who caught and released more than 500 permit, all on fly, off the Florida Keys in his lifetime. The Bacardi Oakheart Key West Marlin Tournament, set for July 22nd to the 25th, features $50,000 in guaranteed cash prizes. The contest is held each year during Key West Hemingway Days Festival. You might catch Rick at that one.
I'll be there.
The Hooked on Kids Charity Fishing Tournament, set for August 6th and 7th, is based at the Marriott Key Largo Bay Beach Resort and raises funds for Sheridan House, serving the needs of children and families. The Robert James Sales Slam Celebrity Tournament is set for September 11th through the 13th in Key West. It is the first of 3 Keys tournaments in the annual Redbone Celebrity Tournament Series. Anglers will target tarpon, permit, and bonefish to achieve the coveted Flops Grand Slam. And now we're going to hear from our trusty correspondent in the Florida Keys, Andy Newman.
Hi guys! Celebrating its golden anniversary, the Key West Fishing Tournament continues through November 30th in the Lower Keys and Key West. The tournament has awarded more than 50,000 citations to anglers around the world. Now, the 8-month-long competition is free to enter. There are 37 different species of fish that are eligible in men, women, junior, and even peewee divisions. Catches and witness releases can be registered at several tackle stores in the Lower Keys and Key West. More details are at KeyWestFishingTournament.com, and more information on other tournaments in the Florida Keys can be seen at FLAKeys.com. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you very much, Andy. Rick, what do you take? What do you take what? What do you want to take? Want to take a stroll?
Yeah, let's take a stroll. All
Let's
right.
take a stroll on up to the coast, or the East region, where Mike Holliday is going to tune us in.
Oh, I like it.
Go for it, Mike.
Tell us, Mike.
That's pretty funny.
Thanks.
We
I try.
catch 3 tuna species in my region: blackfin tuna, skipjack tuna, and yellowfin tuna. And blackfin tuna are the most common tuna we catch. It's been a great summer for blackfins, particularly off Palm Beach County, with the fishermen feeding in 200 to 300 feet of water. So there's also been some blackfin footballs starting to show up on Push Button Hill off Martin County. And skipjack tuna, they primarily come as an incidental catch when targeting the blackfin. And then we get the occasional yellowfin tuna off Palm Beach County, and that typically comes after several days of a heavy easterly wind. But for consistent yellowfin tuna action in my region, you want to run to the northwestern tip of the Bahama Bank to an area known as the Corner or the Pocket. It's about a 65-mile run from Fort Pierce, and well worth the run this time of the year. You want to target the blackfins and skipjack tuna with dark-colored Japanese feathers shotgunned way behind the boat, or you can live chum with pilchards and put out pilchards on a 30-pound fluorocarbon leader with a 3.0 VMC circle hook. And then to target the yellowfins, you can use everything from a live bait to a rigged naked ballyhoo to purple swimming plugs or cedar plugs. The average blackfin or skipjack tuna in my region is going to be less than 20 pounds. The average yellowfin is going to be 40 to 60 pounds. And I have a photo there. That's Gene Holland. He caught that blackfin tuna in 200 feet of water while fishing off Jupiter with Captain Charlie Stuve, and that fish ate a live sardine. Now, on the back of last week's full moon, the mutton snapper bite really fired off Palm Beach and Martin counties. The magic depth seemed to be anywhere from 65 to 85 feet of water, but expect the fish to move shallow on the next full moon to feed on the turtle hatchlings. Now, you don't have to use a long leader to catch the smaller muttons, but if you want those big fish, you want to go with a 40 to 60 feet of 40 to 60 pound fluorocarbon leader and either a live pilchard or a Spanish sardine or a grunt. Fish them on a 5/0 circle hook, and don't hesitate to cut the tail off the bait to add some scent to the offering and bring the fish in from a long distance. Average mutton in my region is going to be 3 to 7 pounds, and I have a photo there again from Charlie Stuve. Alexander Brown was fishing in 75 feet of water. They were fishing off the Juneau Ledge when that tank-sized mutton ate a live grunt. That's the kind of mutton that we want to catch, guys.
Yeah, man, that's a beautiful fish. Good job, Mike. What else you got for me? Let's go inshore.
Well, staying on the snapper species, the summertime mangrove snapper bites on fish to 6 pounds are moving into the inlets and to the nearby bridges and seawalls to feed on the juvenile sardines, threadfins, and pilchards that are moving in those areas as well. Pick an inlet, doesn't really matter, any inlet in my region. Take advantage of the slack tide. That's when the bite's going on. To put a bait up against the rock, most anglers are catching 5 to 10 fish in that 45-minute period of no moving water. For baits, it's been pretty hard to beat a 4-inch Spanish sardine or juvenile pilchard, threadfin, a juvenile sand perch, even shrimp and small pinfish are good options. Fish them on 20-pound tackle with a 30-pound fluorocarbon leader and a 2/0 circle hook. And the average snapper is going to be 1 to 3 pounds.
All right, what else you got for me inshore, bub?
Well, there's just a great sea trout bite taking place in the Indian River north of Fort Pierce, particularly around the Spoil Islands from Queens Cove all the way up to the moorings. It's a super early bite, from like first light until about 8 a.m., which is a pretty short window. But the guys who are fishing it are catching 20 to 30 fish in that time with like a 3-pound average. Some really real nice trout around those Spoil Islands. The key is moving water, find the outgoing tide, and moving water at dawn, and you're really going to get a good bite. Look for the deeper holes and channels that are around the islands and make the longest cast possible with either a Houdini or a Mississippi Hippie or a Bone Diamond colored 4-inch saltwater assassin shad, rigged weedless because there's a ton of floating grass out there right now. And keep an eye out for the mullet schools. A lot of fish are around the mullet when they're up tight against those islands right at first light.
All right, Mike, every week we talk about bass fishing. We've got some pretty good rain the last few weeks or last few days. How's that affected the bass fishing?
Well, it's got the water moving on Lake Istapoga, particularly around the creek. And Istapoga has this reputation for producing big bass. Right now, it's more of a numbers game. There's been 2 good strategies for targeting bass at first light, depending on what you're looking for. If it's lots of fish, then look for the schooling fish, busting shad along the outside grass lines, and then throw a topwater plug or a lipless crankbait in any of the shad colors. But if it's you're in a tournament and you're looking for the larger fish but less bites, then flip the deeper hydrilla patches with either a bass assassin jingle bug or a chigger craw. And then what you want to do is you look at the water. The water's clear, then that watermelon red glitter color is the way to go. If it's got a little tannic stain to it, then you want to go with the standard June bug colors or the blacks and blue colors. And then once the sun gets up, you want to look for moving water that you'll get from these rainstorms around Josephine or Arbuckle Creeks and fish those areas with white spinnerbaits or 8-inch worms in the June bug color. And you can also head out to the cypress trees in deeper water and work a crankbait around the stumps of the cypress trees or fish live shiners around the deeper sides of the hydrilla patches. Average bass has been 1 to 2 pounds, but there's been a good number of 6 and 7 pound fish being caught at Istapoga right now.
All right, thanks, Mike. Good report from the Decks and Docks region, from the East region. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots. Captain Mike says inshore, catch and release snook on the south side of Palm Beach Inlet on both tides. Live sardines, sand perch, or grunts is going to work really well. And then offshore cobias on the bull sharks on the wrecks off of Martin County. live pilchard, thread fins, or a 1-ounce chartreuse hookup jig, Bree, is gonna catch those big fish.
Sounds good to me. Guys and gals, when we return on the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report, we're visiting the Central West region, and then we're going off the deep end with Dave. Dave, what are we diving into today?
Well, we're going to try to get those tunas that won't bite to bite. That's
Sounds
the thing.
good to me.
Those
Well,
ones that won't bite.
stay tuned in,
The biteless
guys.
tuna.
The biteless.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Chevrolet. Find new roads. Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Contender Boats. Performance through innovation. Humminbird. Simply, clearly, better. Decks and Docks Lumber Company, Florida's dock and seawall supplier. And King Sailfish Mounts. www.kingsailfish.com.
What do you think?
When I first sit in the seat, it makes me think of a BMW.
I feel like I'm in a Lexus.
You would think that this was a brand new Audi.
It's like a luxury car.
Feels kind of like an Infinity.
Very similar to Range Rover.
This is pretty high tech.
Yeah, it is. It reminds me of the Mercedes.
This is Chevy? Wow.
I have a new appreciation for Chevy.
They thought about me.
I could totally rock this. This thing feels pretty boss.
It looks kind of dope.
That's pretty cool.
This is the jam.
Pretty bomb, dude.
Maybe I will go Chevy.
Yamaha's next generation V6 4-strokes are changing the game.
Mid-range power was awesome.
Fuel, the burn, it's unbelievable.
Couldn't believe the speed and the fuel economy is pretty impressive.
I couldn't believe the power. It was like it was more like doing a quarter mile on a drag strip.
And them things are like, it's a whole nother game. So I made the switch.
Experience the difference for yourself during the Yamaha Discover V6 Offshore Demo Tour. See why we call it the game changer.
It's been said that a bad day of fishing is better than a good day at the office. But down here in the Florida Keys, we have to disagree. Because with over 200 of the world's best charter boat captains and guides, there's no such thing as a bad day of fishing. The Florida Keys and Key West.
Now it's time for FWC News and Notes. July 10th, there is a saltwater fishing camp in Naples. July 11th, there's a kids fishing clinic in Palm Coast. And July 13th, you can check out the Marine Fisheries Management Workshop in Pensacola. For more information, visit myfwc.com. Now we're going off the deep end.
You know, Dave, over here at the CCA workbench, I learn a lot of stuff every week, and certainly Humminbird is going to help us this week.
Yep.
So, Dave, we're talking about tunas.
Well, he's the one fish that we'd want to use a 2-speed reel, you know, because a tuna fish, dogs, they stay down. They get their head down, they just pump, 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 pump. They don't stop, you know. The blue marlin, he'll give up and jump around on top of the water and let us back up to him and catch him. Tunas don't play that game. They go down, they go down, they go down, so it's a hard fish to get up. And a Macaira 2-speed, Kuma right here,
yeah.
You know, you're going to be able to get enough cranking power to get him up, you know, and you're going to have a nice harness, especially if it's
lean back.
Yeah, you can stand up and fight big tunas if you have the correct harness, and that's, you know, in that whole aft coast stand-up setup.
Yep.
You know, you're close to the reel. You got a short rod. You can carry. Look, you're carrying a lot of drag right there, and you're not even working.
No, the key is keep those legs slightly bent. And more importantly, keep your feet out front of you. Where we get into trouble is when our body isn't leaning over our feet.
Right,
so
you
remember
gotta keep
that,
back.
guys.
Use your body weight.
Lean back.
Look at this. That's how I can crush them, is I use all my body weight. My buttocks.
Buttocks.
My buttocks.
All right, so Dave, what are we going to use to catch them?
Well, you know, tuna, unlike just about everything else that we're catching out there, are very size oriented to their prey. If you're out there and you see a bunch of tunas hopping around and you can't see what they're eating, and then you go dragging a couple of big ballyhoos through that mess, you're probably not going to get a bite. They're probably eating stuff that you can't even see, little stuff, you know, like this big, or even smaller. Yeah, they're eating little larvas in there. A big 40, 60, 80-pound tuna, they can be eating little tiny fish that you can barely see. And if you come through there with a big ballyhoo or a big cedar plug or any of the stuff that we use to catch tunas, you might not get a bite. And you say, oh man, I saw these tunas, I can't get a bite. Well, it's because you're using too big of stuff. And that right there is a little tuna killer. It's the secret weapon. If you can't get a bite out of a whole bunch of tunas and you see those tunas out there, get you some 50-pound fluorocarbon or down and a 4X, you know, super strong little 4 or 5/0 hook. Right. And put it behind a lead weight, enough to keep that jig in the water, that octopus skirt in the water, and shove it up in that octopus skirt just like that. And that sucker right there will catch tunas when other guys aren't getting bites.
Right.
And, you know, on the east coast of Florida over here, we have to go on the other side of the Gulf Stream to get to the tuna fishes, unless we're fishing for blackfins or little tunnies or something on the fly. But to get to yellowfin tunas, we have to go on the other side of the Gulf Stream. In the Gulf of Mexico, they got to go a long way. They got to go out to deep water, usually, you know, 300 feet plus in a good color change. Their best bet is really to hang around one of those oil rigs, because that's where the tunas will
When they
find
go to the rigs, Dave, are they vertically fishing when they first get there, you know, with you know, these type of Williamson jigs?
What I would do is I would cruise around the rig and try to find out if there is a school of tuna there, you know, just by dragging stuff around. If I find the tunas, once I see the tunas, I'll stop and try to, you know, get myself oriented to where I can chum the tunas up to the back of the boat, and then you throw live baits out there after you chum the fish up.
Right.
And it's almost an instant bite. Once you get a bunch of tunas up behind the boat, they're going to eat any live bait you throw in. And just like a lot of the fish, the pelagic fishing, if you can get and keep live bait, you're going to catch more tunas than anything else. You also want to use, you know, stuff that can go fast when you're trying to find the fish, and you want to keep your stuff back a good ways if the tunas have been getting hammered. You know, if it gets starting late in the season, again, you start to get to the point where you can't get any more bites. Let your stuff back further until you can start getting.
And you
bites
say
again.
downsize, go to like a 50-pound or even maybe 40-pound. The fluorocarbon, the Suffix Invisalign really works well.
And use the birds. Yep.
Yeah.
You want to use, you know, down to 50-pound, any kind of fluorocarbon. It's one of the, you know, they can see colors. You know, we say a lot of times a pelagic fish usually can only see blue. Tunas can see colors. They have special heat exchangers in their eyes so when they dive, it keeps their eyeballs warm. They can still see. You know, they're very sights, you know, oriented fish, you know, more so than any of them. It's one of those fish where usually I say, oh, don't worry about what color you put out there. If you keep getting hammered on the pink jig, put the pink jig out, because they can see colors. And if they're hammering little red puffer fish and you come through there with something little and red, they're going to pile on it because that's what they're used to seeing. And unlike the other fish out there that only see in shades of blue mostly, tunas can see colors, and it's very important to try to match the hatch.
See, and you know what? I learn every time. That explains why the tunas obviously feed better, or we catch more early in the morning, low light, or late in the evening, late in the afternoon, low light.
Because they can't see your stuff as well. You fool them.
Yeah, I know. Good job, Dave. I appreciate it. I learned. See, again, I'm learning. I'm over here learning. I learned today.
You're going to learn today, Rick.
He learned something.
You're going to learn something today.
I did.
All right, let's give a warm welcome to our captain in the Central West region, Captain Jeffrey Page. Page, did you learn anything?
Yeah, I learned something. I tell you what, little Dale Earnhardt Jr. whooped him at Daytona yesterday in a Chevy.
Always. Got to be a Chevy.
All right, Paige, tell me where I'm going to find those tunas in the Central West Startron region.
In that Starbright Central West region, the most predictable and accessible tuna is the blackfin. And summertime's probably the best time to get him. With big schools of Spanish sardines that are all over the Gulf, 80 feet of water on out, it's not uncommon to see schools of the blackfins feeding on the bait, along with the bonitas, little tunnies. And in that scenario, you can pull right up into that melee, pitch a free line bait, and like Dave was saying, throw some chummies out there too to keep them going, and you'll catch them on free line baits. Now, if you're not finding that, but you are out there in bait schools in that right depth of water and maybe a color change, a lot of the guys like to start trolling the X-Wrap 30s in the blue mackerel pattern or the billy baits in that 7.5 to 8 knot speed, and they like to put them way back, Rick, 100 yards back behind your boat, but way back behind your prop wash. And look for this action to continue in my region right through October. I got a photo tonight of Johnny Keys. He was fishing with Captain Mac Gregory, and he got a nice blackfin on fly, and you can bet Mac had him fired up on chummies.
Yep, you're absolutely right. Looking good. All right, what else you got for me offshore, Jeffrey?
Gag Grouper, the opening season of Gag Grouper last week. A lot of anglers been getting in on the action out in the Gulf. Some of the better gags are being taken in 80 feet of water on out. Live pinfish, squirrelfish, grunts are the best baits. But remember, like I always say, bring a few boxes of frozen sardines. Never hurts to have them. And you want to start working those hard bottom areas as well as ledges and roll-offs. And I've got a photo tonight of Chris McDevitt with one of those nice gags that he caught on an offshore expedition with Devin and Mac of Ingman Marine.
Wow, it looks like a grouper sandwich to me, bud. All right, let's go inshore.
Inshore redfish bite continues to improve each week, and I believe the afternoon, you and I were talking about this the other day, the afternoon thunderstorms cooling that water down and giving a little bit of that tannic water flush out has improved the red fishing. Start fishing the subsurface lures like live target, scaled sardines, and the amber ghost pattern, as well as the saltwater assassin 5-inch Houdini jerkbait rigged on an 8-ounce hookup jig head. And on the higher stages of the tide, which are first thing in the morning this week, you want to work tight to the mangroves or up on top of the bars, holding mullet, and look for the groups of fish pushing over the flats early in the morning. South part of my region, the west side of Lemon Bay, north of Stump Pass, has been a real good area to key in on the fish, and there's not been a lot of floating grass. To the north part, the flats off Tarpon Key and Fort DeSoto. Reds are averaging 22 to 30 inches, and I've got a photo tonight of my good friends Mike Daines and his lovely wife Lynn with a pair of reds they caught with me last week.
All right, look, they looking good. The English Mike doing it all. All right, man.
Yeah.
All right, let's
All
go.
right, speckled trout, final species, deep grass flats. I keep hammering this, but they keep holding on these deep grass flats. Consistent action in the heat of the day. Don't be surprised if you pick up a Spanish mackerel or a bluefish or even a mangrove snapper while you're drifting at spotted bottom, broken sand, broken grass, long bar, whale key, Emerson Point, rattlesnake key, good areas to work. And you want to work that 5 to 7 foot range. Throw topwater chrome super spooks or live pilchards or shrimp under a popping cork, and the trout are averaging 16 to 20 inches. And remember, it's not too late to sign up for the CCA Star.
Hey, Jeffrey, I got a question for you. You know, your region, a lot of blind casting when you're trying to catch those redfish or those trout. So what are you using these days as far as tackle, the size of the line as well, to make those long casts?
Well, I heard Ronnie talking about it last week. I'm on board the Okuma bus, and I've been using that RTX 4000 on a 7'6" shadow cast medium action rod with 10-pound Suffolk braid and light leader, 20-pound light fluorocarbon leader, launching that, subsurface lure or a quarter-ounce jig out there.
All right, well, thank you so much. Great report from the StarTron Central West region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the sea sucker hotspots inshore. Snook fish the dock lights and bridge fenders at night on the outgoing tide. Throw white clousers on fly and free line select shrimp on the spinning rod. And then offshore, blackfin tunas troll X-Wrap 30s in blue mackerel pattern in and around the bait schools 25 miles out, Bree.
25 miles. 25. I'm 25.
I know you.
I just turned 20. Oh,
Happy
wow.
birthday,
cool.
by
For
the
the
way.
century. All right, coming up on the, thank you. Coming up on the Chevy Insider Fishing Report, we're checking out this weekend's bite in the Northeast and Southwest regions, so stay hooked. We'll be right back.
Look how pretty
Sure
that
you
tuna
not.
is.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. Blue Water Outriggers, everything for your outdoor adventures. Guy Harvey Clothing by AFTCO, Drummond Community Bank, Costa Sunglasses, see what's out there, and Casa Vieja Lodge, 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala.
Need new oil? I know, I needed an oil change.
Show your car some love. Get Valvoline oil and filters at Bennett. You want the protection, performance, and peace of mind only Valvoline can deliver.
Bennett Auto Supply.
Do it yourself, but not alone.
I'm Captain Rick Murphy, and I'm a life member of CCA. Why am I so involved with CCA, you ask? Because I want our fisheries to be in better shape for my kids and their kids. CCA is working to ensure the future of recreational fisheries and the rights of recreational anglers. The future of fishing starts today with you. How do you want to leave things with your kids? If you're like me, you'll want to make the right choice and go to joinccaflorida.com right now.
Casa Vieja Lodge, Guatemala.
It's the Barbarian Queen.
Wait.
Does she have special powers when she has the shroud?
No, guys.
It's the woven one. It's the woven one.
Oh, that gives her invincibility.
Guys.
No.
The Scarlet King is Lord Victor's son. No, don't. I told you. You guys are gonna be so surprised when you watch the finale.
You're so lucky your car has Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I am.
Equinox from Chevrolet, the first and only car company to bring built-in 4G LTE Wi-Fi to cars, trucks, and crossovers.
For weekly reports from our 9 captains and our latest events, make sure to check out the website at ChevyFloridaInsiderFishingReport.com. You can also like us on Facebook and even send us your fish-tastic photos. Plus, follow us on Instagram at Captain Rick Murphy and Official Insider, but mostly Official Insider.
No.
Yes.
Negative.
Negative. All right, Rick, standing behind us is a beautiful Chevrolet.
Yeah.
What do you think of when you hear Chevrolet?
Well, I think about driving down the road in comfort, Bree. What do you think about?
Well, I think about the MyLink and the awesome new features they have, so let's take a look.
Bree, I think you're supposed to start.
Yeah, I'm starting the car from my phone, just like you told me.
You got me there.
Gotcha there. All right, I'm sitting in the Chevrolet Silverado High Country with Chevrolet's marketing manager, Edward Bailey. Now, Ed, last year we talked a lot about MyLink. Tell us what is new and exciting this year.
Well, MyLink is the radio head, very interactive with your phone. But this year the addition was the 4G LTE.
Ooh.
So you get Wi-Fi in your car, whether you're going down the road or whether you're out in the woods or whether you're at the boat ramp. The neat part about it is, I have 4 kids. So when we're going on vacation, you're always looking for entertainment, something to keep everybody quiet.
Right.
So the kids all tie in with their iPads or their Kindles or whatever they may be on, but whatever it is, Wi-Fi, whether they want to connect to YouTube or check their email, or me personally, I do a lot of traveling, it becomes literally that office on wheels, because I can take my laptop, tie to the Wi-Fi, and whether it's be, checking my email or getting onto a WebEx or something, I need Wi-Fi signal for.
It allows you to have work and play on the way.
Work and play on the way. Obviously, you don't want to use it when you're going down the road, but, the kids can certainly use it, or whoever's in a passenger in your vehicle.
Up to 7.
Up to 7 different devices can be connected to it. And again, it's all connected through your radio head. It's all part of just a standard service plan. You can get plans for data on those plans for as low as $5 a month, so it's very, very affordable. And again, it all integrates through your phone. We talked about the MyLink system being integral to the remote link through OnStar. So like you talked about starting the vehicle through your phone, you can also still do the same things like send a route to your vehicle. So
text messages come through, right?
Text messages all come through the phone, so think about it. You're on the boat, you're late, trying to get somewhere. You can start your car, send where you need to go, so as soon as you load that boat up, you hit the ramp, you can go. Totally integrated for that active lifestyle.
Perfect. Well, I love it. And the Pandora obviously is also a good thing to have too,
All those
right?
great things.
All those great things. All right, if you want to know more information about your Chevrolet, go to any local Chevrolet dealership.
You know, Bree, you're certainly a lot more techie than I am.
Well.
So what do you see as an advantage? I mean, obviously they explained a lot, but what about you? How do you personally think you're going to use it?
The Wi-Fi is obviously a huge thing because I'm always on the road, like Edward said. Specifically this weekend, my phone actually filled up with water when I was camping, and I don't have a phone. So if I had Wi-Fi in my car, I can grab my iPad, I can grab my computer, and I can still do everything that I need to do right on the road with the Chevrolet.
See, I knew you have.
But I don't have a Chevrolet, so there's that.
Okay, Poppy, have to take care of that for you.
All right, let's see what the Danger has for us in the Northeast region for this weekend. Hey,
Okay.
Tommy.
Hey guys, so Bree, you're really techie, I guess, aren't you?
Super techie.
Super techie.
Super geeky
You know,
techie.
guys, we have a pretty good tuna fishery here in the Strike Zone Northeast region, and it's not a fish I go after very often, but I did talk to one of our tuna fishing experts, Captain Jason Hadges from jhookfishingcharters.com, and he tells me that the late fall, from about October through November, is going to be the best time of year to target tuna here, but you can pretty much catch them year-round. Now, blackfin tuna are definitely the most targeted tuna in my region, but some anglers do go to the east side of the Gulf Stream, better just known as the east side, to look for the yellowfin tuna. But let's go back to what most anglers are going to be targeting, and that's the blackfin. Now, those blackfins are going to be migrating from north to south during those fall months. Captain Jason says that those fish are going to be structure-oriented, so you're going to want to look for rock piles right along the ledge that are holding big concentrations of bait like sardines and cigar minnows. Now, once you locate that structure, you control a naked ballyhoo with a sea witch or a cedar plug at about 7 to 10 knots. Now, Jason also says you can look for busting fish as well, especially during the spring when those flying fish are around. He says he likes to set his spread way back, almost twice as far as usual, and use a long 25-foot, 80 to 100-pound fluorocarbon leader, as those tuna can be pretty spooky a lot of the time. Now, you definitely want to hang really wide and come back around on those fish so you don't run them over. Now, our blackfins are running anywhere from about 10 to 30 pounds, and I got a picture here. This is Carrie Tussin with a nice blackfin tuna she caught aboard the J-Hook with Captain Jason. Now, also offshore, you know, with the thermocline we've got going on right now, the cobia have shown up pretty good over this past week. The nearshore reefs and wrecks are holding some good numbers of fish right now. I spoke with Captain Jeffrey Crabtree from RightSpotCharters.com, and he's been catching a bunch of cobia on those reefs and wrecks in about the 60 to 100-foot depth. Now, he's been catching them on 4 to 6 ounce wahoo suspending jigs tipped with some squid. Now, he says that just about all the structure is holding some good cobia right now, but any kind of metal structure really seems to be producing the best numbers of fish. Now, Captain Jeffrey also says that it seems like the smaller fish are eating those jigs first, and then the bigger ones tend to follow them up to the boat. You're definitely going to want to have a pitch rod handy at all times. Now, I've got a photo here. This is Zach Jones with the big old cobia he caught with Captain Jeffrey on one of those wahoo suspending jigs. Now, moving inshore, you know, we've got a really good mid-morning low tide this weekend, and the redfish have been chewing good all week long on that outgoing tide. Now, if you get out really early, it's also a great time to toss the topwater plug. Now, we've been catching most of our topwater fish on the smaller bone and trout pattern skitter walks. Now, right now, there's a bunch of ladyfish that have shown up in the flats throughout the entire region, and you're going to see those ladyfish busting those really small mullet and pogies. Now, the redfish have been right in there with those ladyfish, busting the bait, and they're just picking up some of the scraps that the ladyfish are leaving behind. That smaller skitter walk seems to be just the right size and has really seemed to get those redfish's attention. And if you catch a few of those ladyfish, you're going to want to keep them, and you can use them for cut bait later in the day. Now, the big bull redfish have also been chewing pretty good, both in St. Augustine and in Jacksonville. I spoke with Captain Tony Bozzella from TonyBozzella.com, and he tells me he's been catching some big bulls right near the Dames Point Bridge along the edges of the channel in about 30 to 45 feet of water. Now, he's using a fish finder rig with enough weight to hold the bottom, and it seems like crab, mullet, and that cut ladyfish we were talking about have all been working really well for bait. Now, in St. Augustine, we've been catching some big bull reds as well, under the pokey pods along the beach and on some of the real nearshore reefs. Now, they've been eating the same baits as I mentioned before, and again, you'd use just enough weight to get your bait to the bottom. Now, I got a picture here. This is Marshall Bickerstaff with a huge bull red he caught with me the other day. We were fishing right there along the beach.
Man, that is a stud there, Tommy.
That fish wore him out. You can probably tell from the picture there.
Yeah, man,
That was a big
he looks
one.
like he's been tired. What else you got for me inshore?
All right, the flounder bite has continued to be pretty consistent this week, pretty much throughout the entire region. Now, most of the flounder have been on the smaller side, but they are in the keeper size range. Now, all the creeks along the intercoastal, close to the Mayport, St. Augustine, and the Matanzas inlets, are all going to be holding some good numbers of flounder right now. I talked to quite a few different guides that have been limiting out on flounder while using mud minnows on a 1/4-ounce jig head while fishing the deeper creek holes and the mouths of some of the smaller runouts on that lower tide stage. Now, the docks and the rocks near those inlets are also holding some really nice flounder on that same tide. You just got to remember that after you get that flounder bite, let them chew on that minnow for a while before setting the hook. That's really the secret to catching those flounder.
All right, great report from the Strike Zone Northeast region. Tommy, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots. Captain Tommy says inshore, redfish and trout toss the smaller skitterwalk at first light. Look for the busting ladyfish and jacks up on the flats. Those reds and trout are going to be in the same areas. And then offshore, mangrove snappers from 100 feet and deeper, all kinds of structure. Chum with fish, with chunk sardines or bonitas to get them to the top.
I don't know about you, but I had to kind of like pick my jaw up right after I saw that picture of that.
That was stud redfish, man. You could tell that guy was wore out.
I know. All right, motoring on down to the Southwest region, we're checking in with Captain Ronnie Houston. Give it to us, Ronnie.
Well, like always, it's always a pleasure giving the report from the Southwest region every week. But you know what? Tuna isn't something that's done on a common daily basis. But for the guy who's interested, here's a few pointers on what you want to do in the Southwest region. You want to concentrate right now starting in depths of anywhere from 80 to 100 feet and beyond. And what you generally want to do is looking for bait schools and diving birds. Now, a lot of times you can see groups of fish breaking the surface, which will help you distinguish what they are. But you can also troll feathers. General colors have been black and red, black and purple, or even freeline live thread fins or blue runners in those areas. But when you're out grouper fishing those depths, you can also freeline baits to pick up scattered fish. Typically, most average size are 10 to 25 pounds. And I got a picture here with Chris Workman and Kevin Weber with a typical size blackfin. So like I say, it's not something you do on a common basis due to how far out you got to run. But for the guy who's interested, here's a few pointers to get started. Now, still on the offshore side, the red grouper bite still remains to be outstanding all through the region. 15 to 45 miles out has been the best bet right now. Now, if you understand what I've said in the last couple of weeks, I've been having you target going out in deeper depths to get your keeper-sized fish. Generally, when you drop down and get bit, it's going to be keeper fish. Well, there's been a little change in the pattern, and these fish are starting to move in a little bit closer. So you want to target ledges and hard bottom. Now, reports I've received, most of the fish right now are keeper-sized fish, and people who don't like to run that far start off in those depths right now. They've had trouble catching keepers a little bit closer in, so those are the depths you want to work. And baits of choice in those areas right now are live pinfish, whole squid, herring, sardines, and bucktails. All have been working. Here's a typical picture of a grouper caught in the region by Lawrence Ferrillo, fishing with Captain Mike Avanon. So like I said, over the last couple months, getting out to your 18 to 30 hasn't been good. Going out past 60 has been good. But you know what, guys? Start moving in a little closer with them bay boats. Get out there and get your keeper red groupers. Now, the inshore side, the snook. Now, we're on the backside of the full moon a couple days after, so you want to concentrate right now from Goodland to Wiggins Pass. Concentrate on the late night outgoing to early morning. Fish most intercoastal docks and seawalls. Trying to find areas, obviously, with good moving waters to keep. Now, the slacker areas are holding juvenile tarpon, or the dead-end canals seem to be holding smaller tarpon as well. Baits include live shrimp, pilchards, 3 to 4 inch lip plugs in white or red and white, chartreuse, 1/8 ounce bucktails in white, chartreuse, pink and brown. Also, the 3.5 inch bass assassin dye dappers and Houdini all been working. Always try to remain steady with your casting. Don't pause the lure, as these fish are smart in them lights. Also on the inshore side, the redfish. Punta Gorda area, east and west side of the I-75 bridge, and mangrove shorelines and independent islands along the Peace River. Also, the Mayaca cutoff with long concentrations of mullet, early morning incoming to the top of the mid-incoming tide. Artificials are working well after locating. Once you catch a fish in the mullet, real important that you power pole down and stay with those mullets, stay with those fish. Fan cast the area, those fish will continue to stay with the mullet. If the mullet move on down the line, put up the power poles, move on down, repeat the process again. Top water walk the dog lures, quarter-ounce gold spoons, and the Bass Assassin's 4-inch sea shads, white, skunk monkey, mud bug, and golden brim are all good choices. Like I say, stay with those mullets, work them power poles. It's real simple. Follow them. Should have no trouble getting unlimited redfish.
All right, thank you, Ronnie. Good report. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Florida Outdoor Experience hotspots from the Southwest region. Inshore, Triple Tail, Whitehorse Key to Jack Daniels Key, fishing fingerling mullet schools, Deadwood and blowdowns on the outgoing tide, and look for that stained water. And then offshore, yellowtails and mangrove snappers. Fort Myers Beach to Stump Pass, fishing wrecks and ledges 65 to 80 feet, chum using small cut baits.
Okay, sounds good, but I hope you're all sitting down when we get back because we're visiting the Panhandle region and then checking out checking out the new products Dave has for us at the CCAA Workbench. And he's a man of many... Really?
Are you kidding me? Wow.
That worked.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by the Florida Keys and Key West. Come as you are. Hookup Lures, premium lures for serious anglers. FWC, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. La Jolla Resort, a place for family and fishermen. Navionics, we start where the road ends. Maverick Boat Company, celebrating 30 years of leadership in innovation, conservation, and stability. And First National Bank, your first choice for better banking.
At Yamaha, reliability is a family tradition. Meet the next generation. 4 new advanced technology-inspired inline 4-cylinder performers. Bred from the reliability and boater satisfaction that is part of Yamaha's DNA. They prove that when power gets lighter, faster, stronger, and smarter, boating gets even better. And more satisfying for boaters like you.
You know there's more to it than luck. There's fishing the right bait, the water temperature, the wind, the season, and then there's the boat. We'll put it simply, the boat matters. To own a Contender is to own the best sport fishing boat on the market, period. Contender offers the most comprehensive model range with bigger, faster, and more fuel-efficient boats than the competition. There's only one choice for serious anglers. Contender Boats. Performance through innovation.
All fishermen are created equal. Some just use better fishing line.
Welcome back to the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report, and as you can tell, we're over here testing now new products.
It was very refreshing. Very refreshing.
Dave, before we went to commercial break, you got a little dousing.
Yeah, well, this is the new Stormer Fusion line of jackets. Pretty, really waterproof jacket. What's really cool about the Stormer is they use a lot of neoprene. That's their big deal. They've found a new way to get neoprene weld sealed into the other breathable fabrics. So they have a really ultra thin neoprene that keeps you warm, keeps you waterproof, and just a very good outdoor jacket, to keep you dry. They have all welded and bonded seams, adjustable sleeves, which are very important. Again, neoprene inside, so that when you come out, put your hand out, you're going to be dry. Right. It's got splash-proof pockets in the front. All the zippers are splash-proof, so you can put your phones or whatever you want to in your waterproof pockets up front. It's got a dual adjustable hood that can actually be stored and or put up or out. And it's got little D-rings on the front for your kill switches. You put a kill switch on your D-ring on the front. Right. So these things are made for the guy who's going out on the water, especially good for Florida as well. The thunderstorms are starting. We think we don't need to be warm. You
No,
get
we
in a
do.
thunderstorm, and even in the summertime, you can get cold. And this is light enough that it'll keep, that'll keep you dry, but it's also heavy enough that it'll keep you warm once you do, get out there and the temperature starts to drop in our thunderstorm.
Good work. Pretty work.
Also, we've got some Suffix. This is the new nano braid that's just come out. It's called a nano filament braid. It's got a very super tight weave. It's very dense, but it's very, very thin diameter. So, a lot of times we're having trouble with that really small braid holding knots and stuff. Not so with this stuff. They've solved that problem by making a wider angle when they're putting it together so that it weaves tighter and gives you really good knot strength, and it doesn't come apart on the snap like a lot of braids do, especially very small stuff.
Very excited about using this stuff. You can't believe how much further it casts than some of the other stuff.
Well, all the braid now is amazing how much further we can cast than when we could, 10, 15 years ago. I mean, it's amazing, and they're getting better and better, and that stuff, and it's smaller and smaller, so.
Nano braid.
Nano braid by Suffix. This is the new gliding jig. There's only one in there because I've got the other one on a rod and reel at home. I've got a lot of tiny little shad in my lake, and I thought that thing would be a perfect imitator. I've actually got two of the soft plastic hooks on there because I didn't want to lose that one. I took it off that other one and put it on that one. But that's their little willow gliding jig, and that little jig, when you throw it in the water, it flutters like this on the down when it's sinking. It's going float, 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 and it works good with. You can either put, like I said, it's got a soft plastic. You can put a soft plastic on there, or just leave it plain. It works like a real willow leaf little spoon.
I like it.
Yeah, and it's a really good imitator for any small little minnows or little Tennessee shad that I have in my lake. It's got a nice wide gap hook, and it's a really cool little deal. That's a 3/16. They make them in different sizes.
Good.
So. Also, we got here is the new Furuno GPS 1670F actually, and it's a GPS plotter fish finder. It's got a really bright 5.7-inch LCD screen. It's got the dual 50 200 kilohertz sounder. It's got that really good aquarium view actually, so that it can tell you whether there's rock, gravel, sand, or mud that you're over, which is very important. You hear these guys a lot of talk about. Are we over hard bottom or not? This thing, you get over hard bottom, it'll say, hey, you're over hard bottom. It's got a full fish size analyzer, so it'll flash, hey, you just went over a good sized fish or not. And it also has internal memory that'll store up to 30,000 waypoints and 1,000 routes. So, it's a great little tool for getting out there in a skiff and knowing where you're at and what's underneath you.
Well,
the Furuno.
Good job. Man, you were on fire tonight.
Yeah, I had a vacation.
Must have been something you ate.
I had a vacation, man.
That's what it is.
I'm relaxed.
So, Bree, I guess you and I are going to have to take a vacation because...
That's what I would do.
I think my boy Dave here is much more improved.
He loves
Working
vacations.
hard.
He was on fire, but they put that fire out very fast, as we all saw. Okay, let's take this party on up to the Panhandle region with Dave's BFF and resident jokester, Captain Pat Deneen.
Hey, Bree, I tell you what, we got yellowfin tunas, blackfin tunas, and bluefin tunas. The blackfins are accessible to definitely more people, often being caught from near shore or even from the piers, especially in the fall. Those fish tend to move in close to the beach. The bluefins, the yellowfins, require a much longer trip offshore. The most likely destination is going to be the deepwater floating oil rigs. The bluefins are in the Gulf May and June, while the yellowfins and blackfins are here year-round. Popular method is live baiting with hardtails or flying fish. When the fish are on top, or not on top, chunking with blackfin, bonita, or fogies is a very effective way for bringing those fish to the back of the boat. Fluorocarbon leaders, smaller hooks, or smaller circle hooks are the way to go. I mean, the fish have really good eyesight, and they can be very finicky. And so if you're live baiting or chunking, that's use light tackle, light leaders, and smaller hooks. And then often on the troll, a cedar plug or a naked ballyhoo long down the middle is usually the one that's going to get bit by a tuna. The bluefin run to several hundred pounds. The yellowfins are generally in the 80 to 120 pound class. And also the blackfins run 10 to 30 pounds. There's a photo there of Jerry Campbell with a really nice 100-pound class tuna from the Nakika we caught trolling a naked ballyhoo.
That's a nice fish there, Pat. Some good victuals.
Yeah, that's good eats right there. Staying offshore, there's still a very good kingfish fight happening, particularly off Pensacola on the buoy line and on the nearshore structure. Slow trolling live cigar minnows or herrings are the way to go, but you can also troll a lip plug like the Rapala 20 or 30, or even go old school and pull a large spoon, like a big drone spoon. Wire leader is required if you're live baiting. Use a stinger rig where you have a hook in the nose of the bait and then another hook pretty much 2/3 or all the way down by the tail, kind of a ha-ha rig. If he misses the front hook, he gets that back hook. The kings are running 10 to 12 pounds, but 20 to 30 pounders are not uncommon. And today, or this week, Captain Mike Dates on the first shot out of Destin. He weighed up a 56-pound king, caught right off the bar, and we saw a really big one as well. So there are some bigger kings around. Moving inshore, the tarpon are cruising our beaches. The weather's been perfect for it lately. Hot and still, and they're traveling east to west off the second sandbar, and not too much out past the color change. There's a pretty steady flow of singles, pairs, triples, and groups of 10 or 12 fish. Off the piers, they are using live and dead alewives rigged on a treble hook with a 7-strand leader. You can also get them off the pier with soft plastic swim baits like the Storm. But off the beach, they seem to be more finicky. So anchor up. Let the fish come to you and use 50-pound to 60-pound fluorocarbon leader, a dead herring or a live herring, a cigar minnow, or even a pilchard. I'm using BMC 7/0 circle hooks with 50, 60-pound fluorocarbon leader. Average fish is 70 to 100 pounds, but there are some smaller fish around in the 45 to 50-pound class range. And then staying inshore, the speckled trout, the most consistent bite has been under the lights at night on the docks, especially as we're starting to lose this big full moon. Fish live croakers, spot minnows, pilchard, shrimp on a small wire hook, 10 to 15-pound leader. Approach to the docks from up current. Drop your anchor and then free line your bait back into the lights. You can use a small streamer style fly if you want to, or even an unweighted plastic twitch bait. The good lights are throughout the area, bays and Santa Rosa Sound, but you want to look for those lights where there's some good current close to deep water. You're going to find 12 to 17-inch trout and also some redfish.
All right, great report, Pat. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the blue water outrigger hotspots from the Panhandle region inshore. The weather is looking perfect for the tarpon fishing. Set up on the color change and throw live baits, or hit the piers and throw baits or plastic swim baits. And then offshore, natural bottom 30 to 35 miles south and southwest of Mexico Beach for groupers on live baits and large butterfly dead baits, Bree.
Can I hit you in the face with water?
Of course.
Yay, that's happening next week. Continuing our search for the Florida bite, when we come back to the southeast and northwest regions, will have their moment in the spotlight. So get ready for some fun in the sun, only on the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report.
All right.
Woo.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Rapala. Catch the latest at Rapala.com. StarTron cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems. Yeti Coolers, built for the wild. CCA Florida, the voice of recreational anglers for over 30 years. Strike Zone Fishing. Guy Harvey, marine wildlife artist and conservationist. And Sea Sucker, vacuum mounting systems.
Serious fishermen demand quality equipment on their boats and on shore. That's why Florida boaters have trusted Decks and Docks for over 20 years for dock lumber, hardware, and accessories. Tough products that stand up to the roughest environments, and elegance to please the most discerning homeowner tastes. Decks and Docks, supplying waterfront customers with lumber, decking, and seawall, with 10 locations across Florida.
Can a truck change how people feel about a guy? We talk to real people, not actors. We showed them 2 pictures of the same guy in the same location. The only difference, the vehicle behind him.
The guy with the truck would definitely have like a German Shepherd dog. I mean, come on. Like a tarantula, a rattlesnake.
What kind of pet would this guy have?
Maybe like some birds.
you know you want a truck. The all-new Chevy Colorado. Motor Trend's 2015 Truck of the Year.
We're here at Power Pole headquarters, and today's Power Pole tip of the week is about what is a power pole. So let's talk about it. Back in 1998, Power Pole was first established, and it had a 6-foot power pole, but essentially things haven't changed much since then, other than the variety of different units that you can get. The idea was to be able to anchor in very shallow water, and more importantly, be able to control the way your boat might have laid on a shoreline. But the thing that I can remember is back in 2009, getting back into the bass business is really what allowed Power Pole to expand. And certainly Power Pole's line of products have evolved because of all the different needs that we have in today's fishing. Now, whether it's anchoring from the bow or 2 power poles on the stern, it allows you to have more control over your boat, and that's why Power Pole is the ultimate anchoring shallow water system. And that's today's Power Pole tip of the week.
Well, now we're moving on down to Captain Harry's Southeast region. We have Captain Jimbo Thomas with a fantastic report. Hi, Jimbo.
Hey, how we doing? Just fresh back from Bimini.
Bimini Jiminy, there you are.
That's it.
Welcome back.
Catching tunas over there. Now, the 2 types of tunas that we catch here in the Southeast region are blackfin, and then yellowfins are around, but unfortunately we don't see too many of them. But just to the east of us in the Bahamas, there is a great yellowfin tuna fishery, and from May through August, lots of boats, including myself, make the run across the Gulf Stream to fish for these tunas off of Matinella Reef, which is north of West End, or off of Freeport in the Northwest Providence Channel. Now, schools of these tunas, we find them under big flocks of birds, and then we find those birds with our radar or with a good pair of binoculars, but the radar is much, much better. And the trick's to get in front of the school of fish, and then we chum and fish with live pilchers and chunk baits. We like to use 50-pound tackle, 50-pound fluorocarbon leaders, and 4.0 to 5.0 hooks. But lately, the sharks have been a real problem. It's been a real challenge getting your yellowfins in the boat before the sharks get us. So a lot of heads are getting caught and a lot of missed hooks. Now, I've caught fish over there throughout the day, but since tunas are low-light feeders, real early in the morning and then late in the day just before dark is by far the best time to fish for these tunas, and most of those tunas are in the 40 to 70 pound range. Now, a little closer to home, we find blackfin tunas throughout the year, but late April through mid-July is when we catch the most and the biggest blackfins. And just like the yellowfins, they can be caught throughout the day, but early and late is when they bite the best. Live pilchers and herring, that's what we like to use, and we fish them out of the kite or drift them or fish them out of the outriggers, anywhere from about 120 to 250 feet of water. And then we like to use 20-pound tackle with 50-pound fluoro leaders and 4.0 to 5.0 hooks for these blackfins. And live chumming is the best way to get these things fired up. Now, we do catch some smaller blackfins, which we call footballs, but the ones that we catch on the live baits are usually in the 20 to 30-pound range. And there's still a few blackfins being caught if you fish late in the day, but their run is pretty much over. Now, I got a photo here. This is my brother Rick Thomas with a 60-pound yellowfin tuna that we caught aboard the Thomas Flyer over in the Bahamas. And that's a nice fish. That's why we go run all over the ocean looking for those things. Now, dolphin are still being found offshore anywhere from 5 to 17 miles. And a lot of the schools have been smaller fish, and you got to weed through them to find just a few keepers. And then some of the schools have been fish that are all well above legal size. And we've been finding them in scattered patches of sargassum, and the weed has been really bad lately. It's been hard to fish through a lot of the days. And then also around anything floating. Now, most of the time, there's been frigate birds and terns working over the fish, and we've been using our binoculars to find those birds. Once we do find the fish, we've been catching them on trolled ballyhoo if the grass isn't too bad, and small lures, or on small live pilchers and cut bonita and ballyhoo. And there haven't been too many big ones around, but the few larger ones that have been caught have been under the frigate bird, and they've been working very fast to the south. And also, if you can find a sea turtle out there, which we have been finding them, the dolphin have been following those sea turtles. And if you come across any grass patches that are holding bait and you're short on your live bait, drop your sabiki rig underneath and catch those small baits, which are mostly blue runners, and that's what these dolphin have really been feeding on the best. Now, moving inshore, with last week's full moon and the extreme spring tides that have gotten the permit moving, and they've been eating really good. Captain Joe Gonzalez says there's been lots of smaller fish in the 7 to 12 pound range showing up around the channels and rock piles in and around the Ragged Keys, and then the Arsenic Keys and Midnight Pass areas in South Biscayne Bay. They've also been invaded with these numerous schools of small permit. Now, a small live crab is the best bait for these schoolie permits, but they also are perfect for fly fishing with crab pattern flies or casting pink skimmer jigs. And due to the competitive nature of these fish, when they're schooled up, they're very aggressive and they do eat well. They're not as spooky as the singles that you see out there. And don't be afraid to cast on the fish, meaning putting your bait right on their face. Then there's also been some bigger permit in singles and doubles and small pods on many of the inside flats from Soldier's Key, south to Broad Creek, and a live crab is the best bait for them as well. And I got a photo here. This is Jägermeister's Rick Reed with a healthy permit that was tagged with the Costa Project permit tag, and he was fishing with our good buddy Captain Joe Gonzalez. And then also inshore, the bonefish have been on the flats, but the fishing has been tough during the middle of the day. But when they are found, they've been schooled up in mudding in deeper water. Then the morning low incoming tides, that has been the best on the oceanside flats off Elliott Key for small groups of tailing bonefish. And if you can find some moving low water after an afternoon shower this time of the year, this is usually key for great bone fishing, tailing action for sighting those fish. And the bonefish have been eating the small crabs, live shrimp, skimmer jigs, and crab pattern flies.
All right, thank you so much, Jimbo. A very thorough report from the Captain Harry's Southeast region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the First National Bank of South Florida hotspots. Inshore, fish the inside and outside flats of Biscayne Bay with small live crabs for permit and bones. And then offshore, look for the birds working over the schools of mahi offshore and have a small live and cut bait ready.
Have you ever been fishing with Jiminy, Bimini, and Bimini?
I never have.
No?
Maybe we should do that.
I think we should go.
All right.
Okay.
Next year.
Next year, promise?
Promise.
Pinky swear? Okay. Oh, get pinky. Okay.
Okay,
In the
I got
Yeti Northwest region, we have Captain Hagalicious anxiously waiting to give his report. Hope you had a fun weekend, Hag.
I had a great weekend.
Oh, you know that.
I know. That's why I said it.
That's why your report was late, huh, dog?
Yeah, I was late.
All right, tell me about
You're
it.
taking me to Bahamas, right?
Tell me about
We got blackfin mostly in our region right now. Usually when I get home from Boca Grande, I usually start doing some blackfin fishing. What I usually get out there and do is we'll get out 70 plus feet of water over a lot of wrecks, some hard bottom areas. You find a lot of fish in that. But those big wrecks that have big relief, anything that's got a lot of baits, we're going to find the tuna. They're going to usually come in first thing in the morning, show up, eat, and then you can usually see them cutting through the top of the water and doing that famous little tuna leap through the water as they're eating bait. When they're doing that and they're breaking the water, big poppers, skitter walks are all great at fishing bait. I usually load up both live wells with bait and then load up another couple 5-gallon buckets with some dead bait, and I'll chum that out the back of the boat. You can really bring them in and keep them schooled up behind the boat. I'll also bring the bonita in. Yellowfins, we do have a few, but you got to make that a little bit longer run to get to those. But moving a little bit, staying offshore, grouper season is going good. Everybody I'm talking to that's gotten out when the jack grouper opening up has been doing really well. Fishing anywhere from 74 feet even out to 175 feet. Fish have been caught really well, really good. Some good sized fish out there too. Fish up to 14, 15 pounds. Some 33, 34 inch grouper are pretty regular right now, so use some heavy gear. 80 to 125-pound test fluorocarbon leader, 80-pound main line, 6-aught, 9-aught BMC circle hook, pinfish, of course, your bait of choice. Also, grass grunts work really well. 6 to 8 ounces of lead on that standard bottom rig. Right now, with the group of the way they are, a lot of the bottom we have in our area is a lot of flat rock. You're not going to see a lot on your bottom machine, so fire down those dead baits first. Get them really going. That bottom will light up, and as soon as it does, drop those live baits down. Also inshore right now, surfing throughout my region, have been found first thing in the morning, late afternoons. Spread fins and crabs are still your bait of choice. If you're a fly rod guy right now, it's a good time because there's a lot of singles moving up and down the beaches and along the grass flats in my region. Lemon drops over the sand, bottom and cockroach or black and purple over the grass flats have been working really well. At late afternoon or first thing in the morning has been your best fight, like I was talking about earlier. That's when you want to be out there. The middle of the afternoon right now has been a tough fight, even down here. Also inshore, Captain Mario Costello out of Crystal River. Scallop season is doing really well right now. It's hot right now. It's a fun thing to take the whole family to get out and do. If you don't have a boat, there's guides up there that can take you out. Mario does scalloping trips. Plantation Inn, you can check in with them. They can hook you up with a guide if Mario's booked up. But it's a lot of fun. Remember to fly those flags and be safe out there.
All right, well, thank you, Jeff. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Drummond Community Bank hotspots from the Northwest region. Inshore snook on the beginning of the outgoing tide around the passes and points of the outer islands from St. Pete to Anclote. And then offshore red groupers seem to be everywhere, 25 to 120 feet of water over any flat rock or live rock bottom. Now, you know, Bree, Saturday, I'm going to actually be at the Tampa State Fairgrounds in the Chevy display area at the Big Bucks Expo. So, guys, come out and see me. We've got some cool stuff we'll be giving away.
Yes, sir. All right, guys, we are almost at the end of the line. But coming up shortly, we have our Coastal Conservation Minute Tip and then visiting our last captain in the Central East region. So stay hooked on the Chevy
Insider.
Florida. You forgot Florida Insider Fishing Report.
I didn't. I want to make sure you're paying attention. Come on.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Chevrolet, find new roads. Yamaha, reliability starts here. Suffix, the world's most hardcore fishing line. The IGFA, conservation through education. Get your hands wet. Florida Outdoor Experience. Captain Harry's Fishing Supply Company. Best parts, best prices. Bennett Auto Supply. And there's no stopping Okuma.
Introducing Helmmaster, Yamaha's first fully integrated digital boat control system. With Helmmaster, you can start your outboards with a swipe of a fob and control them with a single lever. Outboard trim and steering friction adjust automatically as you accelerate and decelerate. Adjust engine speed with the touch of a button. The Helmmaster joystick provides the means to navigate and dock precisely with confidence and ease. Take control of your next vessel with Helmmaster at your command.
Inside you, there's an outside you. A you that takes the road less traveled than the road less traveled. And finds the comforts of home extremely uncomfortable. This is for that you.
Remember the glory days of gasoline? It's just not made the same anymore.
Kick your gas into gear with StarTron. Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Cure the problems of ethanol with the power of enzymes. And maximize your mileage every time you drive. Kickstart your engines with StarTron.
It's the Barbarian Queen.
Wait.
Does she have special powers when she has the shroud?
No. Guys.
It's the Woven Ones, the Woven Ones.
Oh, that gives her invincibility. Guys.
No.
Oh, the Scarlet King is Lord Victor's son. No, don't. I told you. You guys are going to be so surprised when you watch the finale.
You're so lucky your car has Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I am. Equinox from Chevrolet, the first and only car company to bring built-in 4G LTE Wi-Fi to cars, trucks, and crossovers.
Today's Coastal Conservation Minute is about removing plastic from our oceans. Now guys, remember this. We can't actually control what blows up on our shorelines, but we can control what we do put in our boat. Now remember, if you go to the store, maybe a plastic container that's reusable would be the next form that you would want to use, instead of buying a whole bunch of water bottles. The other thing that comes to mind is certainly the parts that you carry those plastic bottles with, they actually can be problematic because they're mistaken for jellyfish, and fish will eat them as well as other animals, and it's a problem. If you have monofilament or braided line issues where you have a tangle and you want to cut it off, make sure you dispose of it in a place in the boat that's been designated for trash. The reason why this is so important is because certainly you can dispose of it when you get home, but more importantly, it's not overboard. That's today's Costa Conservation Minute. It's about removing the plastic from our oceans. Can you imagine 2/3 of the fish that were tested positive for plastic?
Oh, that's so sad.
But, you know, think about this. As you guys are driving around, how you see a bottle here, you see a bag there. It only takes 2 seconds to pick it up, and if all the boaters, there's 3.1 million of us, or 800,000 of us in the state of Florida, 3.1 million licensors. Guys, we could clean it up in no time.
I picked up a Mickey balloon a couple weekends ago.
Oh, I'm sure you did.
No, come on, Rick. Okay, well, do your part, guys. Last but certainly
Mickey
not
balloon.
least, Captain.
Is that what you're calling Joe now?
It was a Mickey balloon.
That's not nice, Joe. I'm so sorry.
Last but not least, Captain from the Central East region is here to talk a little tuna with us. His name's Jim Ross.
Yeah, we know a little bit about Mickey Mouse balloons around this place because we've got coming in and out of Port Canaveral all the time. But I'll tell you what, the other thing that you can catch out of the Central East region is yellowfin tuna during the summer months. Now, you want to get over to the east side of the Gulf Stream, and these fish prefer dark-colored trolling lures and high-speed diving plugs. And you want to pull them at basically between about 8 and 14 knots. Now, a lot of the guys, when they get over to that east side of the stream, they're 70 to up to 120 miles, where that 120-mile buoy is outside of Ponce Inlet. You want to look for packs of birds, and if you can find actively feeding schools of tuna, you're going to find birds over them. And the thicker the bird packs, generally, the better that your bite is. However, talking with some of the experts, they said some of those smaller packs actually will hold the bigger yellowfin. So kind of keep that in mind, that if you're catching a lot of smaller fish, look for some smaller packs of birds. So if you find 10 to 12 packs of birds a day, you've done really good. Most of the guys are going to find 3 to 6 packs of birds on that east side of the Gulf Stream. And you can also get skipjack and blackfin tuna over there as well. We also get the blackfin on the western side of the Gulf Stream. And, you know, when you're over there looking for those tuna on the east side, don't be surprised if you don't have a blue marlin come up once in a while. Now, our average yellowfin runs about 40 to 70 pounds. But you know what? There's fish into the 90-pound range on a regular basis during certain times of the year. Now, our blackfins and skippies are a little bit smaller. They run about 10 to 15 pounds on average. Now, Rick, I tell you, we've had some serious cold water come through the Central East region this past week, and it's really shaken things up a lot. But the one thing that's kind of consistent right now is still the sharks. There's fine-toothed black tips and a bunch of others that you can catch while you're slow trolling or chunking bait out there. And right now, anywhere from about 15 to 40-foot depth seems to be the best place to try for some of those fish. Most of the sharks we get right now are slashing through the baitfish schools, and they're going to devour anything that resembles a baitfish. So make sure that your hands and feet are not in the water, unless you look like a Yeti. Of course, not the Yeti cooler, the Yeti animal, right? But I tell you, if your hands and feet are in the water and you're in those pokey pods or those greenie pods or those glass minnow pods, you're going to see some shark bites happen, and we've seen that quite a bit in the past 2 or 3 weeks. So be very careful along the beaches if you happen to be a swimmer or a surf fisherman out there fishing for these sharks. Most of our smaller sharks are running anywhere from about 15 to 40 pounds, maybe 45 pounds. Our bigger sharks, we like to use a single strand of wire on those, and we're fighting fish in the 75 to 150 pound range. And actually, with this cold water pushing around, we've seen some 200 and 250 pound bull sharks and also some bigger sandbar sharks. And some of those sharks have had cobia on them. So don't be surprised if you get fish up in your chum slick that look like sharks, but they're actually cobia, which is a nice little benefit.
You're right. Let's go
now,
inshore.
Now, swinging inshore, the snook right now, Captain Glenn Austin says that it was really good, and then we started getting this cold water down at Sebastian. And so what he's been doing is he's been targeting fish around inside the Indian River. He's, catching anywhere from 15-inch up to 35 or so inch snook in there. And he likes to use live baits and topwater plugs around the mangrove shorelines and on the flats around those mullet pods or around those schools that are hanging around those spoil islands. But for the bigger fish right now, we're really looking at the inlet itself. And he says that you can catch them on the daytime tides. And right now, croakers and pigfish are the two best baits to catch them on. They will also hit pins, pilchards, and some mullet if you want to put those out near the jetty. One thing you need to remember, though, guys and gals, is right now, with that cold water, it pushed a bunch of big Goliath grouper into the inlet, and the Goliaths are trying to eat the snook when you hook them. So make sure you tackle up and use some big gear. Our average snook right now is running about 26 to 36 inches. So, and they're out of season, so please handle them with care, and please try to keep them away from the Goliaths as much as possible. Our last fish this week, staying inshore, we're going to do a little bit of red fishing in the Indian River right now, and also over in the Mosquito Lagoon. We've got some pretty decent schools of slot-sized fish running around, cruising the shorelines, and they're eating a lot of glass minnows right now. They're also going to eat mud minnows, finger mullet, and shrimp if you want to pitch those type of live baits to them on a small VMC live bait hook. A lot of the guys are actually using the Saltwater Assassin 4-inch shrimp as well, and right now Mud Bug, Natural Glow, and Drunk Monkey colors seem to be working best. And you put those on a weedless weighted hook, and Assassin has a brand new weedless weighted hook that's really good to use on those 4-inch shrimp. You guys are going to love that thing. Just ask for it at your local tackle store so they can get them in. Right now, also, you can get them along the ICW channel on those deeper drop-offs, especially ones that have rock in them from the middle part of Mosquito Lagoon up through Edgewater. And if you don't want to use artificials or any of those smaller type of baits, you can use a chunk of pinfish or a chunk of crab, and you can get some of those really big ones up into the 47 and even 50-inch range right now, Rick.
All right, thank you so much, Jimmy. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hookup lure hotspots from the Central East region. In short, baby tarpon in the creeks and canals in North Merritt Island use small streamer flies or crappy dapper jigs, jigtails that imitate the glass minnows that their tarpon are eating. And then offshore, amberjacks, 27-fathom ridge, use live or cut baits on a standard bottom rig and a VMC circle hook, Bree.
All right, Rick, well, the reports may be in, but you guys need to stick around to see what we're hooking up to next week, only on the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report.
Man, you're always catching me. I'm over here thinking about something else. Keep going. What do you think?
When I first sit in the seat, it makes me think of a BMW.
I feel like I'm in a Lexus.
You would think that this was a brand new Audi.
It's like a luxury car.
It feels kind of like an Infinity.
Very similar to Range Rover.
This is pretty high tech.
Yeah, it is. It reminds me of the Mercedes.
This is Chevy?
Wow. I have a new appreciation for Chevy.
They thought about me.
I could totally rock this.
This thing feels pretty boss.
It looks kind of dope.
That's pretty cool.
This is the jam.
Pretty bomb, dude.
Maybe I will go Chevy.
I'm definitely
I got my first Yamaha in 1994, and I still use that outboard in the Bahamas today. This Yamaha 130 has over 2,000 hours on it, and it sometimes sits for 6 months. I can always depend on it starting and performing like it did when it was new. Everybody knows Yamaha stakes their reputation on reliability, and for me, that Yamaha 130 is living proof. So if you're considering a Yamaha, I can tell you that reliability and performance is something that you can count on for a long time.
Forage fish are small fish that hold marine food webs together. Put simply, forage fish like pilchards turn sunshine into snook. The IGFA and other conservation organizations are working with the FWC to improve forage fish management in Florida. Ensuring that there's enough food in the water for our game fish will maintain Florida's legacy as the fishing capital of the world. Visit floridaforagefish.org to learn more and to sign the Forage Fish Pledge.
Thanks for tuning in to the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram and Twitter to keep up with our captains, contests, and appearances. You never have to miss a show. You can find full episodes of the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report right on your YouTube channel. And make sure to check out our website for fishing reports in your region. Visit www.ChevyFloridaInsiderFishingReport.com for everything you need to know to stay hooked up. Next week on the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report, it's all about swordfish. Sword. Be sure to tune into SunSports every Thursday. Plus, you can catch repeats of the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report on Fridays and Saturdays. Make sure you check your local listings for the times.
So,
gentlemen.
Bree, what are you going to be doing this weekend?
Well, you know, a little thing called Miss Florida USA.
Woohoo!
And I'm gonna win.
Good luck, Bree. I want you to know
Oh my gosh, look at that.
everybody's rooting for you.
She's pretty hot.
She is
well,
hot, man.
you know.
She like defines hot.
I can. Okay, well.
Look at all that. That turquoise is a pretty color on
We
you.
need Miss Florida that's hot,
I like it. I like it.
Well, fun in the sun.
Hope you win.
Sun and fun. Thank
Yeah,
you.
good luck
I have
from
to
all
teach
of
you
us.
guys the elbow, wrist, wrist.
That way.
Is that how we do it?
Tuck your thumb in.
Hey, don't
Oh, man.
forget to catch Sports with Adventures right here on SunSports too.
And
And
go
you know-
see him at the Big Buck Expo.
Yeah, man. Dave, I'm glad to have you back. Great
I'm
job
glad
this
to be
week.
back.
Bye, guys.
Wait, no, this way.
Okay.
Elbow, elbow.